Two.
All right, welcome to our city council. We'd like to welcome everyone that's here and everyone that's watching. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'll ask Councilman Scobes to give our opening prayer.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this day, grateful for the opportunity to be able to come together. We're grateful for this wonderful community in which we live and the opportunity we have to be a part of it. We ask a special blessing be upon our emergency responders, EMS crews, public safety officials, that they might be protected as they go about keeping us safe and healthy throughout our day. We also ask a blessing be upon our citizens, that they might be protected and safe, be successful as they go about their work and their many activities. We're grateful for the activities and opportunities we have in this community and pray that that will continue to keep us safe and in this area. We ask a blessing upon those in Las Vegas and Puerto Rico and Houston and other areas around the world that are facing difficulties and tragedies, that they might be blessed. We're grateful that our dear town is free of such tragedies at this time, and pray that thy hand might continue to be with us, keep us from those. And this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, public comments. Anyone from all the public out here that likes to talk to us? Oh, excuse me. I've asked Councilman Gordon to give us the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will the audience please rise? Please repeat the pledge after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right. We'd like to excuse Council Member Beck. She's out of town and hopefully having a fun time. All right, now we'll go to public comment. Anyone that'd like to address the mayor and the council? Seeing none, I will go to council comments. Councilman Scobes.
Mayor, report. We had a library board meeting this last week. Part of that meeting was discussed the metrics for this last fiscal year as far as number of children and things that were in the different reading programs, other programs that we had. Relatively short agenda. One thing to bring up though with regard to the library, for the council to know, and more importantly for the citizens, libraries are always rotating through their circulation of books. They've got a large collection. Our library not as large as other libraries, but at least maintaining a large collection in the available space. And just to give the citizens an idea, talking with Pam Jackson, our librarian, due to the space restrictions that our library has, she has to go through that circulation a lot more frequently. Just to give citizens at home an idea, just in the fiction, just recently in one of the particular sections that goes alphabetically, she had to go through and remove different books, books that were published in 2013, for example, in 2006, 2010, 2012, 11, 9, 2002, just for a few examples. The library had received those books either the year of publication or, well, in all cases, at least for this section I'm looking at, they received them all the year of publication. A book that was published in 2013, the library received it that year, and the last time it was checked out after 11 times of being used was 2015, and because it hasn't been checked out so recently, that book is now on its way out. And that's a relatively new book, so sad to see books that new go out. It also goes with books that have a much higher circulation. A fiction book that was published in 2008. In its history so far in the library, it was checked out 35 total times. Last time it was checked out was in 2015. Again, 2 years ago, but the library can no longer keep it simply because of the lack of space. Now, some of that is this isn't a plea to, hey, let's go build a library. No, that's not what I'm saying and suggesting. This isn't a rally around another building that you want the government to build or not build. This is just simply so that we're aware of what the library has. There are some citizens that are concerned about books that are kept and books that are not kept. It's simply because of circulation and space available. Just as you would do with your food storage, you kind of rotate through, and the newer things get to stay longer than old things. Unfortunately, we just don't have the capability to be able to keep things as long as possible. But they're doing a great job down there. Pam Jackson and her staff, the numbers I'll have later, as far as the number of students or number of children that have gone through the programs. But despite the challenges they have with space, are really doing a fantastic job. If you haven't been to the library, there have been some improvements with cement work, and the back door is now open, and Pam said that back door out to the park is used a lot more frequently than the front door. And she says it makes the library have a much more open and community feel. So if you're not using the library, please do. A great resource for the community. And then lastly, we have our Veterans Council meeting tomorrow evening, and I will have a report on our next meeting after that.
Great.
That's all.
Councilman Endahall.
Thank you, Mayor. I visited the library last week, Kira. Took my niece there. She found a book that was written about a gymnast she needed to report on in school, and she found it there. Couldn't find it in Salem, so she found it there. And I had a $2.50 late fee that I report to you I paid, Mayor. So
Yeah, it
be proud. They won't send the chief after me anytime soon, but
was close.
it was close. Yep. But kudos, or echoing what Keir says, Pam does a great job with what she has down there, and they were very accommodating to us going in there. So, report on board meetings that were last week, an active and healthy board meeting that a lot of us sat in. Chief was there with us, and a lot of volunteers that have helped make that movement possible. And continuing on, we had a woman from the county, from Utah County, talk to us about QPR training, which stands for Question, Persuade, and Refer. We're going to coordinate with her to do some training inside the city, and hopefully with some faith-based leaders and business leaders as well in our community. QPR stands for kind of CPR, but on a mental side, to try to get people the help they need if they're struggling with mental anxiety or depression or health. So excited about that. We'll report more on that as we go down the road there. Rotary meeting last week. We had that at Macy's. We're hosted the mayor there to speak to us and give the Rotarians an update of where the city was at. And he did good. He gets some, the Rotarians don't mess around. They give you some tough questions. I don't know if he was ready for those, but he did well giving us an update of where the city's at. Oftentimes there's people that ask us council members, and the mayor I know gets it as well, how can we help? How can we get involved in the city? I'll just put that out there that the Rotary is a good service organization to be involved in. We have great ones in the city, including the Chamber and Kiwanis, and the Rotary needs help. Not that they're doing anything bad, they're doing great, but they could always use more people to further their efforts. So if you're looking for something, the Rotary is open for business and a good place to hang out. One last thing, last night, walking down Main Street into Two Jacks to get a pizza on my way home from work, and walked right through a prayer that was happening that I didn't realize, but on the street there, volunteers planting in the planter boxes a single adult ward, and my cousin was one of the kids there, and so I didn't realize that they were saying a prayer right when I walked up and made a scene and asked Alex how he was doing, patted him on the back. So it was a little awkward, but that awkward moment also made for a reflection moment for me that how good we have it in Spanish Fork and the volunteers that are out and about. That's a group of young people that were there that gave an hour or so of their time to just help beautify Main Street. So pretty cool stuff, and I think we should recognize them every chance we get because the volunteers are what makes Spanish Fork they're focused on a me instead of or focused on a we instead of a me, and it helps all this go around. So thought I'd publicly acknowledge them. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Argal.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to report on Utah Lake Commission meeting. We received some interesting facts from that meeting. The commission is continuing to do removal of Phragmites, which is the brush around the lake to reclaim shorelines and make it so that the lake is more palatable to entertain on. A couple of things, so they reported that year to date for the last few, they've removed 3.1 million pounds of carp from the lake, and actually show a diminished of the carp, and they're growing. They also reported that the June sucker, which is the endangered fish that the DNR is working on, and is starting to recover and even possibly be removed from the endangered list to a threatened species, which is an upgrade from that. They also, I'm sure we heard during the summer that there was some algae blooms that was on Utah Lake. There was 4 other reservoirs that also had that happen. And they're able to test them quickly, so if they're in danger, they can inform the public to be aware of that, so that they don't get animals that are sick, or there are health hazards that exist from that. There's also a couple of weather sensors that's going to be placed on the lake, and we'll have an app available. One of the things that happens on Utah Lake is the wind does come up quick, and those waves get big quick, and this app will allow you to watch that and make it available so that you can, if you're on the lake and the winds come, you can quickly get off that lake. The Utah Lake Commission also entered into an agreement, memorandum of understanding that was recommended from the technical committee for a company called Renewable Energy Innovations, who wants to explore some options around the lake and some things that they could do to make a whole bunch of options of renewable energy and stuff like that. I sent a copy to Seth so that they could look at it. Our concern was with the city and what that would tie us to. This memorandum is for a year, and they voted and approved that, just to give so that they could have, this company would take the opportunity to start looking at some renewable things that could take place around the lake. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Gordon.
Mayor, I wanted to congratulate one of our young women of our community. A sophomore at Spanish Fork High School was crowned the Miss Utah's Outstanding Teen Saturday night. Azure A. Talbot, which is the little sister to our current Miss Spanish Fork, Dejana. And so I wanted to congratulate her, and very proud to have that representation from our own community for the whole state of Utah. And then the only other thing I wanted to do was invite Heather up, since Stacy's not here to do it, and give us an update on the chamber maybe.
Thank you. I actually have quite a bit. October's busy for us. So we have the Scarecrow Contest. It's running on Main Street. That will run all month. You can get onto the chamber website at SpanishForkChamber.com and vote for your favorite one. We'll award prizes for those at the end of the month. We have our Business of the Month winner for October, Cowboy Donuts. Yeah, so everybody better come. It's on Thursday at noon.
So you didn't bribe them with donuts, did you?
Must have done.
Okay, October 11th, we have a ribbon cutting for Prime Mortgage. October 12th, we are having a workshop with Kevin Miller. He is a speaker that kind of focuses on helping businesses gain loyal customers. So it's good for small businesses to kind of help them grow that. We also have another ribbon cutting on October 17th for Paul Tom's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They're right here on Main Street, so pretty fun. We're hosting a Meet the Candidates night on October 18th, so all of you. Please get me something that I can get over to our moderator, who is Doug Welton. He is on Payson City Council and also the debate teacher at Salem High School. Sorry. Another ribbon cutting for the new neighborhood market for Walmart. That one is on October 25th. It's early in the morning. It's at 7:30 a.m. So, and then the last thing I have, trick-or-treating, will be on October 28th along Main Street from 1 to 3. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Just got a couple of things. I had our UMPA and SUVPS meetings this past week. That's our power board and our power agency. In our SUVPS meeting, we talked about, they went over safety. And that's the one nice thing about our local people here. They really strive to teach safety in our power system, even in our town. We've got Spanish Fork, Springville, Payson, SESD that belongs to that board. And they've gone a year now without any accidents. And the reason I bring that up, we had a tragic incident happen here. A local citizen, he works for Rocky Mountain Power. He was a lineman, and he reached into a power box and was electrocuted. And so we really feel bad for him, and our hearts go out to him. If you go up Canyon Road, you'll see all the flags posted on the home there on Canyon Road, and that's what happened to him. So safety is so important, and these guys train and train and train, and then they retrain about it. And it can never be enough, when it comes to people's lives. And so I want to shout out to our power department because every day, along with our police officers and our first responders, they're out there putting their lives on the line too, with dealing with that kind of stuff. So, all right, that's all I've got. I'd entertain a motion for the consent items.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? New business, Old Mill plat.
So when the Old Mill Estates proceeded, we approved the plat that included this long, narrow piece right here in it. And that was the right thing to do. What we need your approval for tonight is, that is in our name. And we just need approval to be able to convey that off to the developer to be part of the plat. We don't know how that came to be in our name. There's an irrigation ditch there, and that takes up pretty much all of the room. And why it came to us and not an irrigation company dozens and dozens and dozens of years ago, nobody can remember. And probably most of us alive now never had the chance to know. So anyway, we don't know why this is in our name, but we approved the plat with it. We don't need it. We don't think it has any value. In fact, Chris says because there's a ditch there, it has a liability value to us. So we're proposing that we convey that to the Old Mill Estates with their next phase. We don't charge them anything for that. That will necessitate the mayor signing the plat as an owner. And so we seek a motion that just authorizes the mayor to sign the Old Mill Estates plat to convey that piece.
What if I was going to build my summer home there?
If it's built like spaghetti, it's just a straight, narrow wall, maybe.
It'd be kind of hard to do that. Huh? Okay. No problem.
So questions?
If there are any questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the Old Mill plat so it can be cleaned up and approved there.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Southwest Regional Lift Station, RFP, Sunrise.
Engineering. So what you have before you is a proposal from Sunrise Engineering to design the Southwest Regional Lift Station. If Tyler can zoom out towards the South Spanish Fork interchange. Yes, right across the street from the Reserve Health Clinic they built. We're proposing to do a lift station. We did a study about a year ago in this area as development has shown an interest in this area. So we put together a study to see how to best service this area. Currently we have a deal with, or a contract with Salem for about 400 homes to drain into their lagoons. Old Mill Estates is the only subdivision currently on that is serviced by Salem Lagoons. This lift station would take every existing home that we have draining to that area, and then all the future development. So this proposal is just to design the lift station. Most of it will be paid back by impact fees, about 7-10% of city budget. The rest is impact fees. So unless you have any other questions on it.
Questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Southwest Regional Lift Station to be designed by Sunrise Engineering.
I'll second that with kind of an endorsement of Sunrise Engineering. I've been in a couple things where we picked them for other things, and they're very good at what they do.
They're qualified. We checked into them for sure.
All right, we got a motion by Councilman Argal, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Spanish Fork Springville Airport Amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding.
Before I start, I just have to point out that Mr. Johnson looked pretty sharp, didn't he, Jared?
Yeah.
Right there. He looked fantastic in that suit. It's always good to see him.
Maybe we get Angie to take a picture of it.
So this is not an amendment. My apologies in how I worded that in my staff report. This is a memorandum of understanding that is associated with our interlocal agreement with the Springville City as it relates to the Spanish Fork Springville Airport. We talked about this in some form a couple of months ago here in a council meeting, and tonight is the formal memorandum that we presented, at least in concept, a couple of months ago. The idea here is that Springville City would like to move out of the airport ownership and operation business. Currently, the airport located on our North Main Street is owned by the two cities jointly. We operate it jointly, and the way the arrangement works is that Springville is responsible for the finances and the risk management. They've also had responsibilities for snow plowing in the past. Spanish Fork City has been responsible for the engineering and the totally just drew a blank, Jared. Legal, thank you, Kent. Engineering and the legal sides of the airport operations. With this memorandum of understanding, it outlines that we're moving toward the separation. So this is, if we were a married couple, this would be kind of a legal separation on the way for a divorce. But we understand, and as we've looked at the process for that full separation, a little bit of a lengthy process. But the two cities, through our discussions, Spanish Fork City, you as a council has said, we would like to begin the arrangement of how it will be in the future today. And so this memorandum basically says that the city will take over the engineering, strike that, the city will take over the finances and the risk management, will take over all the budget responsibilities, and Springville will turn over all the funds associated with the airport operations that they have in their airport fund account. They'll turn those over to the city, as well as the vehicles that are titled to the airport. They are titled to the airport, but in Springville City's name. We anticipate that by next spring, we should be able to get through all the FAA paperwork to have that full separation. But so that's what this memorandum outlines. And that is the gist of this memorandum. Any questions?
Just smiling.
It does say that if we aren't able to fully legally separate at the end of all of this, that Springville will be responsible to come back in, and for normal operating costs that they didn't pay, they would have to buy back in, if you will, because we'll take over those obligations this year. If we make any decisions, this didn't get into that, but the intent of our conversations were if we make any big changes to the airport and then they have to come back in, we may be responsible for those forever, but we'd sure like to have this wrapped up with Springville actually within this current fiscal year, and if we can do that, then FY19 should be pretty simple.
Any questions, comments? So you need
I'll make a motion to approve the Spanish Fork/Springville Airport amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding.
Second.
Except it's not an amendment.
It's not just the
Just the MOU.
MOU. MOU.
got a motion by Councilman Gordon, second by Councilman Scopes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, going along with that, I failed to talk about the Candy Bomber. They had a gala for him, and as you know, my wife and I attended that last week over in Provo. They are raising funds to put down a building down at Spanish Fork Airport as a museum for him and also for the Civil Air Patrol. And it was pretty impressive. They had a lot of heavy hitters there at that gala, and they raised quite a bit of money. And so this is going to happen. And so I was pretty impressed. It was a black tie affair, so I had to go find me a black tie, but it worked out pretty good. So good things are happening at our airport, and so just let everybody know what's happening there. And we're getting a lot of press here with this Gail Halverson and the Candy Bomber coming there.
Mayor, do we know where that building will be?
Nope,
Yeah.
haven't said yet. So they've got a conceptual drawing of it, and they'll figure it out down the road. Okay, moving on. Update of an approval of salary ranges of employees and appointed officials.
Mayor and Council, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share this with you tonight. We reviewed this a couple of weeks ago in the work session with you, and hopefully you've had some time to digest it and look over it. Also, we provided you with the list of all the positions and the ranges that those positions were in as well. Did you have any additional questions or anything that we didn't talk about last week that you'd like to bring up tonight?
Oh, I didn't. You did such a fine job last time. Proud of you.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. What? Oh, you want me to tell the public how we did it? Oh, sure.
Oh, come on.
Happy to do that. So Seth asked that I share a little bit about how we came up with these ranges. And just so the public knows, we don't just wave a magic wand and these ranges appear. As much as easy as that might be, there's hours of preparation that go into this. And last year we made a major overhaul of how we actually come up with these ranges. So there's a company that we are part of that gives all of the cities in the state of Utah and actually beyond the opportunity to participate in a salary study and enter each position's range, the range that a certain position is paid into their database. And then cities can go out and pull that information and compare, for example, to see how much a secretary or an executive assistant might be paid in another city, and how much an executive assistant is paid here is a function of that. So what we do is we compare against 16 other cities that are similar in size or similar in geography or similar in services. And we use those same 16 cities every year to compare each position by position, the salary amounts. And what we do is we look at the range and we see, okay, where is the midpoint for each position? And then we take that number, and in an effort to try and attract and retain the best employees possible, we take that and we take the 60th percentile of that, and that's what we use for the midpoint of these ranges. You'll notice there's a minimum, a midpoint, and a maximum. If you were to do, if you look at the midpoint would represent 100%. So the way we get the maximum is we take that midpoint and multiply it by 1.2% or 120%. To get the minimum, we take that midpoint at 100%, and then we times it by 0.8%. So it ranges from 80% to 120% of the range. Now, we do a pay for performance pay system. So these ranges are set, like I mentioned before, by position. They're each position is grouped into a pay grade. And then based on an employee's performance, they either move up or down in the range, depending how they've done during the year. If you end up above 113%, if there's an employee that is recommended to be paid in 113% or above range, we actually have the department directors take that recommendation from whoever their supervisor is, and the supervisor has to review why they deserve to be in that range. In a nutshell, that's kind of an overview of how we come up with those. So,
Right. Any questions for Tyler, other than Seth?
Great work, good
Thanks,
transparency to be in front of the citizens that pay these wages and our tax dollars, so good work.
Yep.
Thanks.
Really good. Going along with that, I was talking to Tyler last week, and he had a part-time employee that had been a part-time employee for a while and had been offered a full-time job in a neighboring city, 2 different neighboring cities, turned it down because he said, I'm waiting for a full-time position here in Spanish Fork, and he got that full-time position. So that tells you what type of quality of people we have here working for Spanish Fork, and what people want to be here to work in Spanish Fork. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, I would,
Mayor?
if there's no other questions,
Sorry, can I mention one more thing? So there is another part to this for the elected officials. In our a couple of years back, we adopted a policy where every 2 years we'll review the elected officials' ranges and compare that against the same cities as this. And so we have started that process, and so we'll be bringing that to you in the near future. Just wanted to let you know that that is another part of this that's not yet finished. So,
thank you.
Thanks, Tyler.
No other questions? I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the salary ranges for employees and appointed officials.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move we adjourn.
I've got a motion by Councilman Gordon,
Second?
second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. There was no closed session, so we are done. Thank you for being here.